Champions, how are you guys doing this morning? Welcome to the JJ Cafe Show. Appreciate you guys checking in. It is right at the top of the hour. Let's get this going. Happy October 9th to everybody. I, in the email yesterday morning, sent out, said I was going to recognize somebody. And I didn't do that. I had a couple of you all say, hey, who are you going to mention? Who are you going to mention? Yesterday was my mom's 84th birthday. And if there is a champion of all champions in my life that I should have recognized yesterday, that was her. We had a great chat last night. Sent her a big bouquet of flowers. She's very happy. So in front of the community, I will. And by the way, guys, if you're not honoring the fact that your mom, and those are, you guys don't know her. She has her quirks, but I'm here to tell you right now, I could never repay her for what she's done for me in my life and continues to do for me, even at the age of 84. I am really, really lucky to have her as my mom. And hopefully someday, somehow, some way, I can share her with you. But a day late, Mom. I know I wished you happy birthday yesterday, but hope you're having a good day today. I talked to her last night, and I go, how was your day? She goes, that was great. My sweet tooth got fixed. So we just moved her not long ago into an assisted living facility in Oklahoma City, and she didn't like it. She kind of was kicking and screaming. There's still a part of her too that still is like, you know, you and your sister, you kind of made me do this, but she couldn't do it anymore. But those are champions in your life, folks, that you got to make sure that you lift up whenever you have the opportunity. So with that said, day late, happy birthday, Mom. I wanted you all to a couple of quick announcements here before we get into the daily special. We're going to Ryan's having a special Launchpad webinar tonight. And again, the groundwork's being laid, all right, in such a way where, you know, he's helping you all appropriately share this message. So make sure that you, there was a link, special link. By the way, that's a new and unique link that was in the email that was sent out to you all this morning for that, championmovement.com/webinar LP, I think it is. That'll be the unique webinar, I believe, and Ryan may fix me on this tomorrow. But that's a unique. Use the link that was in the email that was sent this morning and join that webinar tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern. And then, as always, on Friday morning, we're going to have the Champion Morning Show at this very same time. So with that said, special shout out to Miles. Special shout out to you today, bud. Appreciate you. You know, we're all in special shout out to Terry, too. And I know I'm working with a handful of you all on your Y Discoveries. If you all are stay engaged in the Champion Project, ladies and gentlemen. And I want to honor those of you guys who are doing that. Appreciate your candor, coming face to face with that person that you see in the mirror, and to see the transformations that are happening on the other side. Really, really fulfilling. And a special shout out to those of you who are getting registered for Champion Camp here coming up in December. And we're really, Ryan and I, so looking forward to having you all down here in South Texas. We're going to do it. We're going to do a South Texas style. Now, yeah, we're going to get a lot of information. I'm here to tell you right now, we're going to have some fun, and the dynamic of the relationships and what's going to happen as far as this vision really beginning to spread from a leadership perspective. It's very, very special what's going to happen there. We're going to embrace the beautiful imperfections that we all bring to the table, but we're going to make sure that's all done for the good. So with that said, here's what I want to do today. I want to, yesterday I had a chance on the Champion Morning Show to share with you all, kind of became a theme of, you know, some things that we can let go. And I heard back from a handful of you guys and gals about that. Sounds like I struck a chord. And I want to take just a little bit of time this morning, and I'll be sensitive to everybody's time. I'm going to do our best to get out of here in a real efficient time. I think there's some things that we should know about letting go of certain things. Even after you let go, okay, the past, and in so many ways, it's still a part of who you are, right? And if you're going through the Champion Project, you're understanding the truth in that statement. Every one of us lives in, we live in the present, and we make choices based on something in our past. The fact is, it's simply unavoidable. It is, isn't it? You're only able to to really hear these words right now because of your past and understand them. See, your brain relates past experiences or things that we've learned, like learned knowledge, if you will, to the words that you're hearing right now. We're putting them in context. So bear with me here. All forms of learning rely on your ability to continually reference the past, right? If you think about it, many wise decisions that you've made leading to this very moment were created through recalling what you did or did not work, what did or didn't work in the past, right? Does that make sense? You're only able to do what you can do now because of what you've learned. For instance, you only recognize a friend when she walks into the room because you reference a past connection with that person, okay? See, in this way, you're using the past effectively. But when you start behaving ineffectively because you think, oh, this is the way it's always been, or this is a pattern, if you will, it's always been in the past. Let me tell you something, folks. Problems begin to arise. Our traditions, they may be useful, or they may stifle your progress and your growth. It all depends on how relevant they are to the present. It's your job to make this determination. It's your job to think critically this way. Okay? We all talk about letting go of the past and moving on, right? We talk about that even to a certain degree within the Champion Project. But what we do, what do you leave behind? What do you let go? Since the past helps us at least, how can I best articulate this in a way? The past helps us as much as it hurts us. Okay? How do we know what to let go and what not to let go of? I guess that's a good way for me to begin to frame up what I want to share with you all today. And here's some things, and I think I've done this in one way, shape, or form, but I've never done it on the JJ Cafe Show. So here's today's daily special. Here's what I want us to take here moving forward. Understand some things that have really helped and served me. You are subconsciously matching patterns from the past with right now, here in the present. When an experience in your life has emotional significance, it gets tagged in your brain, or you file it in your brain as important. And when the emotional experience is tragic, it triggers your brain's fear mechanism. That emotion comes up, right? It goes up, you go back, that's what you see, right? That's what it triggers, right? Which tells your brain to remain on the lookout, right, for any future conditions that might vaguely remind you of this tragic experience, right? Does this to, what does it do? Does it to what? Protect you, right? And from any potential harm that you went through before that you don't want to go through again, right? Your brain then tries to match new experiences with the original one. Yeah, that sometimes frustration comes involved when you do that. But depending on how emotionally attached you are to the original experience, it can lead to what's been called false patterns, right? False matches. Because you think it's the same, but in reality, it's not true. It's not the same. And then ultimately, those types of false matches, they lead you astray. For example, big guy, right? Big guy came up and hit you. Right? Big, strong, muscular guy came up and popped you in the nose, right? So the next time you see a muscular guy, what do you think? All muscular men are going to pop me. Maybe it was an old boss that harassed you. So now you have trouble respecting, a totally new boss that has a totally different authoritative, he or she's a completely different authoritative figure in your life. But because of that experience with your old boss, you're bringing it back into this one. Again, these false pattern matches occur when you respond negatively and you over emotionally bring significance to that event that happened in the past. And it all happens subconsciously. It does. Logically, that all muscular men and are completely different human beings, but emotionally, you respond as if they are. Bear with me here, because there's a point I want to make. If you feel that you're stuck because you can't move beyond past experience, then your brain is relating to it as if it's happening right now. I hope that makes sense. Which gets back to the matching patterns that I meant, right? Matching the past pattern to maybe it's a pattern now. Here's a two-step solution that might help. Ask yourself, what specific past experience and associated feelings do my current feelings remind me of? Come face to face with them. You got to be honest with yourself. You got to dig deep with this. And once you determine the origin of your current feelings, now here's what I want you to do. List all the ways that your current circumstances differs from those past circumstances. Takes a little bit of intellectual effort, folks. But beyond, this is the way to get to the truth. This includes, the places, the people, the details that caused your pain and all that discomfort. Review the differences over and over again until you've been completely, what's the best word I can use? Review those differences until you have them memorized. Because see, this should help you realize and remember that circumstances, they've changed. So make sure these past patterns don't become new patterns, because believe it or not, folks, everything's changed. Look at the differences in the situations, the differences in the patterns, the things that aren't the same. And that will help you allow to easier let go of maybe an old false pattern that's not going to serve you moving forward. Because you know what happens to help you let go? Your subconscious mind forgets that it's grown. Your past subconscious mind, even your present subconscious mind, forgets that your capabilities have grown. They have. I've used a story about zookeepers and the chain around, they get a baby elephant, they put the chain around the elephant's leg, they put a wooden stake in the ground, and when the baby's young, it can't pull it out of the ground. And that as it grows into this massive animal, it has the strength to pull it out, but because of its mind, it stays right there. It's using past experience. Because see, when that elephant was a baby, its trainers used the exact same methods to domesticate it. Just a little bitty thin chain. Because at the time, the chain and the peg, at that time, they were strong enough, right, to restrain this little baby. Well, things have changed. We're all stronger. So if you think about it, we're all like elephants. We all have incredible power inside of us. Champion Project's unleashing a lot of that in so many of you. Now, we all have our own chains. We all have our own pegs in the ground, don't we? It's the self-limiting beliefs that hold us back. Sometimes it's a childhood experience. Maybe it's an early failure earlier on in your life, or even not too long ago, right? We need to learn from the past, but be ready to update what we've learned from those circumstances that have changed. Another two things to consider. First, if you suspect that you're currently living your life or parts of it through the conditioning of self-limiting beliefs that you've developed in the past, remind yourself of something. Remind yourself of what is different now in terms of circumstances of your own capabilities. That makes sense? What's changed? Ask yourself that. And ultimately, what you're going to discover, what's changed? You're smarter, you're wiser. And secondly, examine what you've learned from these past experiences that have adversely affected, that can actually help you, right? We talked about it briefly. What have you learned? It's okay to go through these things. We all learned something. Rather than just regretting stuff, question specifically how it's helped you grow. Has your past equipped you to be determined, to be self-reliant, to be perceptive, to be tough, to be aware, to be compassionate? You guys fill in the rest of the blanks. Focus in on what you've gained rather than what you've lost from these adverse past experiences that you've had. Want to really understand how to let go? Progress of any kind. Here's what we all got to understand. Progress of any kind, folks, it feels uncomfortable at first. It does. Progress of any kind, it doesn't feel natural. It's not the it's just, I don't think of it, can't think of any other way to say it than it's just uncomfortable. Nothing starts easy. Everything begins with some level of difficulty. Think about it. Even waking up in the morning sometimes requires a notable effort. Just waking up. Wyatt's out the door. I take him out. We leave at 6:55 in the morning to get him to school. Now, when that alarm clock goes off at 5:36, sometimes it's like, okay. Sometimes just getting out of the bed takes that notable effort. But one beautiful thing about life is the fact that most difficult changes are often the most rewarding, and they're the most satisfying and the most fulfilling in the long run. It's true if you really think about it. Maybe the really tough job interviews that lead to huge career advancements. Maybe the first few awkward words exchanged from, on the first dates that lead to successful relationships. The excruciating training that leads hopeful Olympians to gold medals in the Olympics. See, none of these successful outcomes started from a place of comfort. Even within the Champion Project, I had a chat with a couple of you yesterday about, Terry, you and I were talking yesterday about I think he's pretty close. I think he's not just in the ballpark. I don't even think I think he's right there standing next to home plate. We're just figuring out if he needs to be in the left batter's box or the right. He's right there with this wife. And as you say it, we had a conversation here. That first time you say your why statement, it's not natural. It just doesn't roll off your tongue. But it's a part of the process. But it's true. See, far too many people are fearful of the unknown. They're comfy with putting in with putting in the least amount of effort, not willing to put up with the short-term pain for the long-term gain. Don't be one of those people. We all know better than that, don't we? You know that growth and progress, they require discomfort. And every time you stretch your emotional, intellectual, physical, even spiritual muscles, discomfort arises just before progress is made. So, in all walks of life, by committing to continuous, small, uncomfortable steps, and make sure that those steps are forward, you're able to sidestep the biggest barrier of real positive change. And what you're stopping, you know what that barrier is? That barrier is fear. And one more thing before I get to the next thing. Remember, it's a cliche, and I've said it 100 times, and I'll probably say it 10 more thousand times. Growth begins at the end of your comfort zone, okay? Not only is it important to accept the discomfort of taking those steps forward, it's also necessary to let go of the uncomfortable routines and situations from the past. Holding on to the way things were prevents you from growing into who you are now. And most importantly, who you're capable of being. See, as we really understand the power of letting go, it takes intellectual effort. So you got to understand the past did not provide your only opportunity for happiness, for real fulfillment. Some people live that way. The past didn't provide the only opportunity for your happiness and fulfillment. No. Reminiscing about the great past times is always, it's fun. There's pleasure that comes out of that. And I'm not saying we don't do that, so long as reviewing these past times is not used as a way of emphasizing how terrible the present is. By contrast, if you will, right? If you start living in the past too much, a great extent of the opportunities in the present, you know what happens? You're ignoring them. You don't see them. You're not seeing what's right in front of you. And when you start doing that, you got a problem. So if you find yourself in there, here's a couple of things that'll be helpful. To help you feel better about specific situations that are happening right now, you might close your eyes and relax. You got to focus on a wonderful pastime, and then imagine yourself drifting into the present with all those good feelings from the past. If you're going to use that, use it for the good. See, these things did happen. They did happen, and they're worth celebrating. They are. This can help you. It can help you actually use the positive points from the past rather than bemoaning their passing. Look for any ways that the present might actually be better than the past. Look for those things. I'm here to tell you they're there. However slight they may be, even if it's simply that what you've learned from the past. And how better you are now because of what you learned, and the future decisions that you're going to be able to make from a better place. Here's the bottom line, is that life needs to continue right up until the moment that you die. If you're at a certain point and all you do is look back, you know what you've done? In effect, you've stopped living. You need to resist this trap of believing the past was so perfect that the present cannot be appreciated at all. You want some help with letting go? Remember that nothing can be expected and nothing is indefinitely certain. You may go, wow, JJ, I don't know how that makes me feel. Listen to me. You got to understand that none of us are playing with I've heard it termed, none of us are playing with a marked deck of cards. Sometimes we win, sometimes we lose. Life always finds its balance. Don't expect to get back everything that you give. Don't expect recognition for every effort that you make. Don't expect that the genius that you are is instantly going to be recognized or loved or understood by everyone that you encounter. There are things you don't want to happen, but you have to accept. Things that you don't want to know, but you got to learn. People and circumstances that you can't live without, but you have to let go. Some things that come into your life just to strengthen you, right? So you can move on without them. And as you live and as you experience these things, you must recognize what belongs and what doesn't, what works and what doesn't. And then let things go when you know you should. Not out of pride. Let me say that again. Not out of pride. Not out of inability. Not out of arrogance. But simply because not everything is supposed to fit in your life. So close the door on the past. Change the tune. clean up your inner space. Get rid of the dust. Stop being who you once were so you can become who you are. You guys, really kind of getting a peek into where my heart is with what we're doing within the champion movement. Because I believe it's time to open the next chapter. I believe it's time for me to open the next chapter of my life. So in that belief system, I want to help others do the same thing. Look, oftentimes letting go has nothing to do with weakness. I think our society and our culture want us to believe it. But it has everything to do with strength. We let go, we move on with our lives because we want the friends, we want the family, we want the world, we want the universe to realize our worth. But because we finally realize, for the simple reason, when we finally realize our own worth. So stop focusing on the negatives and everything that could go wrong. I'm going to throw in something on a personal basis here. Lori and I've shared this with you. Lori and I've had this conversation with you. I've wasted a lot of time in my life trying to be right. Would you rather be right or would you rather be happy? And that was a byproduct by way of me coming face to face with my judgment of others, too. Oh, being right. So let's start thinking of everything that already is right. Make sense? Be thankful for the nights that turned into mornings. Friends that turned into family. Those past dreams and goals that turned into realities. And use this mindset to positively fuel an even brighter today to ensure a really, really bright tomorrow. I had more I wanted to share, but I want to get you guys out of here. So with that said, here's what I want to do. I'm going to leave you with one more thing. I'm staying that we're all happy and fulfilled in whatever we're doing. I love this term clarity through contrast, right? A lot of you all of us are going through something. I think at the end of the day, we all just want to be happy, don't we? We all know what we got to let go of, move on. Have the strength and courage to do it. But understand this, we live in the world and it's not perfect. We search for ideal circumstances. As adults, we grow into the belief that we need everything to be a certain way in order to find and appreciate moments of real happiness and fulfillment. But the truth is, to be happy, we really need much less than we think, which should help us really understand the power of letting go. I think one of the biggest feelings comes when you realize that you can be perfectly okay and happy without the things that you thought you once needed. And that's precisely the point I want to make here right now. If you just hear one thing, I hope it's this. You know what you don't need to be happy? Ideal circumstances. Happiest people don't live with a certain set of circumstances, but rather with a certain set of attitudes. Choosing to be positive and grateful for what you have. When you do that, that's going to determine how you're going to live the rest of your life. So look for something positive about today, even if you have to look a little harder than you think you should, because I'm here to tell you it exists. Because ultimately, your greatest achievements are moments in time when what you're doing allows you to see how wonderful life really is. Would love y'all's comments at the bottom of this page. Take a minute to do that. Appreciate each and every one of you. Again, Ryan's webinar tonight, 9 p.m. Eastern time. There's a link in the email that went out today. Make sure you join him. We've got some updates on the Launchpad. And today, do something good, something positive for somebody. But do it in the knowing there's no way they could ever repay you. Love you guys. We'll see you tomorrow morning on the show.